Can you believe that we're already a full week into the new year? And I'm really excited to get on tonight and, take some time and share some things with you folks that I really believe, hey, Miji, can make a big impact. And, what I'm going to be talking about is something that affects 93% of us. It's a crazy statistic, but if you're struggling with your health right now, folks, this information could change your life. I don't know if you can see this behind me, but hi, Toothless. Toothless is there. Hi, Toothless. She's funny. But I'm excited to get on and talk about something that, quite honestly, is affecting so many people. Eddie Lopez, brother, how you doing? So, hey guys, stop. Charlie, be nice. Hey, both of you, be nice to each other. Sorry about that. I've got two cats that still don't get along. I almost wish I had my German Shepherd because I think the cat would finally get along. But so I'm excited to get on tonight. I'm going to be talking about something that literally is affecting so many of us. Okay, it's called insulin resistance. Some of you might already know what it is. Some of you might not. But as Solomon said in the Bible, in all you're gaining, gain understanding. And let me tell you, when you understand what insulin resistance is, it literally changes everything. And if you happen to be struggling with your health, what I'm going to share could change your life. Now, here's the deal. If you want to make a big impact in business or life, you need to be able to solve a major problem. And folks, the biggest health issue in the world today is insulin resistance. It affects so many of us. And the sad part is most people don't even know that they have it. Now, here's the thing, right? If you haven't heard of insulin resistance, I encourage you to Google it or research it, because this is going to be a hot health topic for years to come. Now, November of 2014, I donated a kidney to my sister's husband. And I'm very grateful for that. I was honored to be able to do that. But ladies and gentlemen, it was 7 years later when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. And my nephrologist said, Troy, if you don't lose weight, if you don't change your diet, you're going to end up on dialysis or worse. I'm not going to lie. This scared me because I've always been healthy. Have you ever gone to the doctor and your doctor's telling you something and you feel completely blindsided by what the doctor's telling you, right? You're blown away because you're like, how could this happen to me? And this is why I get on here every single day, because I know most of you watching this live, most of you have insulin resistance and you have no idea what's causing it. And I think even more important, some of you might not even know what you can do to start to improve your health on your own. Now, I had donated a kidney years before, and so when they told me that my one was failing, I was terrified. I had weight that I couldn't lose. I was exhausted. I honestly felt like my body was giving up. How many of you feel that way? But instead of giving in, I decided to fight back. I learned what insulin resistance is, and I'm so grateful for that. Right? Elena, thank you so much for being on. Folks, I learned about insulin resistance, which is the real reason so many of us gain weight. So many of us, get sick. And I've made some simple changes that have completely reset my metabolism. I lost 32 pounds. My labs normalized. I reversed stage 4 kidney disease. That's crazy to say. You know, when I went back to my nephrologist, my doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. First, family first and last. Thank you for that. Ashley, thank you for being on. I am athletic. Weston, thank you to everyone who is hopping on this live. Folks, if you've ever been told that there is no way out, right, that you can't fix your health, don't believe it. I am living proof that your body can heal when you give it the right support. Now, what is insulin resistance, right? And you may have heard of this, but it often gets glossed over, right? I'm hoping to give you just a synopsis on what insulin resistance is. You can, believe it or not, folks, you can have insulin resistance for 20 years before you lose control of your blood sugar, and now they've diagnosed you with diabetes. How many of you that are watching have diabetes? You guys realize that 93% of people in the United States have what is called insulin resistance. That's how big of a problem this is. And we are disrupting this metabolic space in the marketplace. Skin tags, right? How many of you have skin tags? How many of you have the excess belly fat, right? Belly fat's the number one sign. And AA, I'm going to share this with you, right? Belly fat is the number one sign. Folks, I think that you could literally throw a pebble down the street and you're going to know at least 10 people with these issues. Folks, I was always constantly thinking about my next meal. How many of you do the same thing? You're always eating or you're always thinking about food, right? I used to crave salty and sugary, like I used to do all of that. Now, how many of you have headaches, right? Rev and tongue punkers. Thanks for your message. Thank you, Wilfred. Folks, I had insulin resistance most of my life, and I didn't even know what it is because most people don't talk about it. See, skin issues, skin tags, psoriasis, eczema, adult acne, these are all things that are caused by one thing. But you know what's interesting is that when you and I go to our doctors, don't they treat the symptoms, right? Don't they manage it? They don't fix it. They just manage it. But everything that I just mentioned are all signs of insulin resistance. So how did we get here? Okay, just really quick. But how many of you on here have been told that in order for you to lose weight, that you should eat within 30 minutes of waking up and that you should eat every hour or 2 hours? How many of you have been given that advice? Right? How many of you have been told that by your doctor? Maybe you were told by your dietitian, nutritionist. Okay. Linda says me. Hugh said yes. Okay. Folks, if you've ever been told that, type me in the chat or put in number 2. Okay. I want you guys to understand something, and this is biology. This is basic biology. Every time you eat food, what happens is your body creates blood glucose. It's known as blood sugar. Okay. And once you make this, okay, if you're eating every 2 hours, right, you're constantly spiking your blood sugar. That enters your bloodstream. And your body releases a hormone called insulin. And some of this might be a little boring for some of you. I apologize for that. But I want to share this because it lays the foundation of what creates insulin resistance. Because I think if you understand what it is and what's causing it, you're going to know what you can do to fix it. You know, I spent a lot of time educating people on metabolic health, specifically insulin resistance, like what it is, why it's, caused by most of the things that we're seeing, and most importantly, what are some things that you can do to fix it? Did you guys know that your gut has more nerve endings than your spinal cord? It's actually the heart of your immune system. But if you and I are eating a diet that is high in processed foods and seed oils and trans fats, it messes us up. And what happens is you've got this harmful bacteria that's starting to grow. It triggers inflammation. You've got autoimmune issues. And Robbie, spot on. Good for you. And Robbie, you're 100% correct. How many of you have, chronic diseases like, diabetes, obesity? Do you guys realize that, 74% of American adults are overweight or obese? What about our kids? More than 50% of our kids are overweight or obese. There's two things that I teach people every day. And if you can start to incorporate these two things, they're simple, they're easy, it's safe. Time-based eating, going longer periods of time without putting food into your mouth. How many of you have ever tried the F word, right? I was talking to somebody earlier tonight, and I was told that you can't actually say this word anymore, fasting. So I'm going to start calling it the F word, right? Like, I think about this, right? When you go longer periods of time without putting food into your mouth, you actually give your body the ability to take a break. And quite honestly, sometimes, folks, that's exactly what your body needs. Right? I skip breakfast every day. You know what's interesting is that when you don't eat first thing in the morning, do you realize that your body actually runs better when you're not putting food into your mouth? Okay? When you're not eating first thing in the morning, your body literally runs better. And I want you guys to understand that when you go longer periods of time, right, fasting, okay, it is a game changer. Because what it does is it helps to reboot your stem cells. It gives your gut a break. It reduces inflammation and autoimmune chaos that's happening inside your body. Okay. It literally helps your body to heal from the inside. So if you've got IBS or Crohn's disease or rheumatoid arthritis, it literally helps you to start healing yourself from the inside. Now, fasting is important. Okay. But just as important to that's step one. Step two is fiber. How many of us are eating fiber every single day? And I'm curious if any one of you knows what amount of fiber that we should be getting each day. Blessed by the best. Thank you so much. You know what's interesting is that when you have the right type of fiber, like both soluble and insoluble, it actually comes together, creates a barrier. When you have the right type of fiber, it feeds the good bacteria. It acts like a prebiotic. It regulates your blood sugar. It prevents fatty liver. It crushes your cravings. And if you want to understand what the science is behind insulin resistance, here it is. Every time we eat, especially sugar and carbs, our blood sugar spikes. It goes through the roof. And what that does is that triggers your pancreas to release a hormone called insulin. Insulin is what helps the body to absorb the sugar, right? This is, so that our body can get the energy that it needs, right? This is the energy that powers your brain, your organs. But what happens over time, if you and I are eating way too much sugar or we're constantly snacking throughout the day, what happens is that your body will start to resist insulin. And that'll cause the cycle of insulin resistance. And folks, when insulin can't get sugar into the cells effectively, it gets stored in places where it shouldn't be, like your liver, your joints, even your brain, right? This can lead to joint pain. This can lead to arthritis, okay? It can lead to a lot of things that I know most of us don't want. This is why managing your insulin is so crucial. How many of you have a family member that has Alzheimer's or dementia? That's me. My mom has it. She's 84 years old. She lives in a memory care facility in Tennessee, and she's struggling with her health. And I have to tell you, it is so hard to watch somebody that you love and care about start to deteriorate, and there's nothing you can do about it. Folks, this is basic biology. And what happens, it's kind of like having kids. Now, I don't have kids, but if you tell your kids to do something, maybe you tell them to do something a couple times, right? And they stop listening. Well, that's happening in your body, right? Your pancreas is yelling louder. And so it makes more insulin. And see, the warning signs start to happen, right? You start to get high cholesterol. You start to get high triglycerides. You start to get LDL, right? That's fatty liver, folks. You start to get PCOS, ladies, right? Men, what about low testosterone and erectile dysfunction? Okay. Your blood pressure starts to go up. Your joints start to hurt. You've got neuropathy in your feet and hands. You've got migraines. You've got skin issues. These are all early signs of insulin resistance. And you know what happens is you finally blow out your pancreas, and now you've got diabetes. And I want to explain something in regards to diabetes. Okay, and Robbie, you're absolutely right. When you get diabetes, your cardiovascular risk, it goes up by 80%. Because your body has done everything it could to keep the blood sugar out of your tissue. And when this happens, guess what else happens? Your Alzheimer's and dementia rate, it goes up by 81%. I think that you all get the idea that this is a global pandemic, right? You know, I love what Moses said in the Bible. He said, I give you a blessing and a curse. You can't have one without the other. And because there is such a huge need, folks, I get on here every day because people need to hear this. And Robbie, I feel like you need to come and partner with me because you're preaching everything that I talk about. Folks, what I'm doing isn't a diet or a supplement. It is a daily routine. It's making new daily habits. You know what's interesting, and I love talking about this, and I think that this will make sense, but you know, the cemetery is full of people who thought that they had more time. This is why I do what I do. What I do is I help people to understand what insulin resistance is before it leads to diabetes, before it leads to IBS and cholesterol issues and blood pressure and heart disease, right? Most people, when you go to a doctor, right, the doctors just want to treat it. And here's the thing, most people feel fine until you don't. That's the dangerous thing about insulin resistance is that you feel fine. There's no symptoms, right? You feel fine until you don't. And I think too many people just think that we have way too much time. And we're like, you know what? I'll put that off. I'll put my health off. You know, and the time that we should be focusing on improving and taking care of it is now while we still can. Here's the truth, and you don't have to believe what I'm saying, but when you go to a doctor, do you feel like they're managing your symptoms or do you feel like they're helping to fix them? Because every time I've gone to a doctor, I don't feel that way. I feel like they're managing my symptoms, and that's exactly what they do. Folks, if you are serious about moving the needle when it comes to improving your health, you can. Our bodies are powerful. Okay? If there's anything that, you know, if there's one thing that really you just need to hear from me tonight, is that your body can heal itself. You have hope, you have options. Right? It's something that anyone can do from the comfort of their home without having to leave to go to a doctor to get another prescription. You know? Folks, I love what I do. You know, what I teach people to do and what I use daily, it helps to detox your liver. It nourishes your microbiome, which is where 80% of your immune system is. It helps to improve insulin sensitivity again. You know, and the tool that I use every single day outside of the F word and fiber, right, is a tool that has literally been around for 30 plus years. It is just as effective as weight loss meds and diabetes meds and blood pressure and cholesterol meds. It has zero side effects. It's the easiest thing I've ever done. But everything, like Robbie said, everything that we've been taught up to this point, we've been misinformed, we've been misled, we've been lied to. Folks, what is the most important meal of your day? If you wouldn't mind, what is the most important meal of your day? I'm curious to what you guys think. Right? I was always told that, right, breakfast was the most important meal of the day, right? The first meal of the day, right? Whether that happens at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night. Folks, I want you guys to understand that whatever you eat first is technically the most important meal of the day. How you break your fast, okay? That is the most important because what you eat sets the tone for everything else. Or seriously. You guys realize that there was a company that started with you know, the letter K and has logs in their name, right? They created this idea, folks, that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. In fact, they told us that we should have carbo freaking hydrates first thing in the morning, right? In the form of cereal. How many of you still eat cereal to this day? I used to eat cereal all the time. I couldn't get enough of it. I don't eat it anymore. I'm like, how did I, even in my adult years, I'm like, how did I eat that stuff? Hi, right? Come here. Come here. Say hi. Don't bite. Don't bite. Don't bite. Don't. He's a sweetheart. Hey, go on. Go get it. So, like, you think about this, right? You know what's interesting is that how many of you have ever heard of the SAD diet? Okay, we call it the standard American diet, right? You start your first meal is when you wake up, and let's just say that you sleep in and you wake up at 8 o'clock, right? And you have your first meal at 8 o'clock. You guys realize that most people literally eat every hour to 2 hours. They eat from sun up to sundown. Talk one on one. That was Charlie. Her name is Charlie. She's a sweetheart, and she loves. She's she's tossing this thing around, and now she's going to come up here. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. She's a sweetheart. Hey, go get it. She's so funny. Um, she always wants to come over when I'm doing my live. Um, and SM, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Here's the thing. I absolutely love breakfast. I just don't eat it in the morning. I eat breakfast for lunch or I eat it for dinner. Right? Folks, I wish that somebody would have taught me what insulin resistance was 20 years ago. You know, there are so many people in my family. My dad passed away early. My brother passed away early. You know, I had stage 4 kidney disease. And, you know, the crazy part is not one person in my family has diabetes. Eggs and avocados and good bacon is fantastic, right? You know, I think about this, right? There are so many people that are on a MED, right? Honest to God, this is the competition, folks. When I look at this, right, for those that are on, metformin or Ozempic, or maybe somebody who's considering the surgery, somebody who's got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, right? Your doctor constantly wants to put you on, um, an STATIN, right? Honest to God, I've never met another human being that wants to be on that if they knew that there was something different, something that didn't have side effects, something that wasn't affecting the other medications that they might be on, right? Something that could truly improve somebody's health in a simple way, right? And the unfortunate thing is, and I want you guys to know, okay, I'm not anti-doctor, I'm not anti-medication, I'm anti-ignoring the root cause. I think that every single person that is watching this live right now, whether you have insulin resistance, your loved ones, your kids, your spouse, your partner, your mom or dad, or cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever that might look like, I think that every single one of you should have an understanding of what's causing these health issues, right? Because if you don't know what's causing it, how are you going to correct it? How are you going to stop it? And think about this, right? A lot of you just saw what the new guide was for the food guide, right? That was put out there yesterday. You guys realize that, you know, years ago, a cholesterol level of 300 was considered, you know, totally normal, even healthy, right? And then some big corporations came in and they came out with the statin drugs, right? And suddenly the normal number dropped significantly. And why was that? Because that meant that millions more people now qualified to be on a medication. Folks, I don't expect you to believe everything that I'm saying, but what I can tell you, doctors test what they can medicate. What's interesting is that most people, when you go to your doctor, they're always checking your fasting glucose levels, right? They're checking your blood sugar levels. But here's the thing, folks. Checking your blood sugar levels is like having a basement in your house that looks dry on the surface, but is actually full of water beneath it. Seriously. And what's crazy is that we throw medications at our symptoms. It's like having a leak in your ceiling and you're putting a bucket under it, but you never fix the roof. And what's crazy is when the doctor is testing your fasting glucose, what's interesting is they won't test your fasting insulin. Fasting insulin and inflammation are two tests that doctors don't test for. But here's the crazy part about the fasting insulin. You guys realize that the fasting insulin is what controls the fasting glucose numbers? It's interesting that they'll check the glucose, which, tends to be normal all the time. This is one of the reasons why your doctors tell you that, hey, your labs look normal, but you don't feel normal. You feel off. You feel sick. And now I'm not saying that meds don't help. Even statins don't help. But what I can tell you, okay, is that if you go look at the studies, okay, it's a very, very, very tiny, tiny, tiny percentage who actually benefit. It's like less than 1% benefit from this. And the rest, guess what? They deal with side effects like muscle pain, fatigue, blood sugar issues. They, deal with muscle loss, brain fog, because your brain actually needs cholesterol, right? Folks, when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, it freaked me out. It was my wake-up call. And I'm so grateful that I know what I know now, because I made a promise to Heavenly Father that I would share this every day and make an impact in at least one person's life. And I know that there's somebody on here that's struggling with their health and is just trying to figure out how can I improve it and get myself to a better place that is not driven by drugs, medications, or crazy diets that in my opinion don't work. Let's get real, okay? We're all human, right? Hunger is stronger than willpower, and relying on willpower isn't sustainable. So, hold on a second, folks. And so, one of the things that I encourage people is make sure to stay hydrated. And bless man, sorry that I didn't get your message. Um, Eggs are phenomenal. I love eggs. Okay, I eat eggs not every day, but I eat when I do eat breakfast, and if I have it for lunch, it's usually eggs, scrambled eggs, right? Some pico de gallo, some avocados. Okay, so here's two things that you can start doing that can help you to start managing your hunger and helping you to make better choices. And the first one is time-based eating. Okay, we're going longer periods of time without eating food. I go anywhere from 18 to 24 hours every single day. Because when I do that for 24 hours, your body is resetting your gut. Okay, when you go longer periods of time, your body literally is starting to heal from the inside. It's powerful what your body can do if you give it the right tools. Teresa, thank you so much for hopping back on. Okay. Another tip here is make sure that your last meal of the day is packed with protein, right? Because when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to be as hungry and you can actually push back your first meal. Push it back. Your body runs better, folks, without it. Now, that's step one, going longer periods of time, time-based eating, fasting, right? The second thing is fiber. Here's the deal, folks. Fiber doesn't turn into glucose like other carbs. It stays fiber. And that's actually where the magic happens. See, when you eat fiber with your meal, like broccoli or beans or flax or chia seeds or green leafy vegetables, okay, what it does is it forms a thick gel in your stomach. And this helps to reduce the glucose spike from any food that you eat. Whether it's a salad, whether it's pizza, fiber is what helps to keep your blood sugar steady. It's what helps to prevent the excess, insulin release. Okay. This is key for managing insulin resistance. Okay. So make sure to get fiber in your diet. Okay. And again, I just gave you some good sources: broccoli, salad, berries, flax, chia seeds, things like that. Okay. And try eating them with your meal or right before. Here's the thing, and I think that this will make sense to a lot of you. When fiber is removed from carbs, like in processed foods, okay, we get blood sugar spikes. And without fiber in your body literally acts like a roller coaster. Okay, you get the blood sugar spike, followed by a crash that leaves you hungry or tired. Miss Lopez, thank you so much for being on. And what this does is this leads to a ton of issues, from ADHD to Alzheimer's to arthritis to insomnia. How many of you can't sleep at night? How many of you have atherosclerosis or neuropathy? And you know what's crazy? People today eat the same amount of sugar by the time they turn 7 or 8 years old that people in the past consumed in their entire lives. And fructose, right? Fructose is the sugar that is found in most processed foods. It's actually even worse, folks, because it causes oxidation. It causes oxidation, which actually speeds up the internal damage inside your body 250 times faster than glucose. This is one of the reasons why we're seeing diseases like diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and even the C word, right, that we celebrate in October, in kids. We're seeing all of this in kids. Folks, it's time to understand the root causes of these problems, which is insulin resistance. Because treating the symptoms without addressing, right, the root cause is like spraying water on the smoke while the fire just continues to burn out of control. You guys realize that if we address this issue, we could eliminate 90% of the chronic diseases that exist in the world today. That's why it's so important to make better food choices and to focus on the root cause, insulin resistance, folks. I hope that this has given you some insight into insulin resistance and it's linked to chronic health problems. Folks, it's like a fire burning in your body. Seriously, okay? It's like a fire burning in your body. And unless we address it, folks, the symptoms are going to keep coming back. The migraines, the high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, and a reliance on medications, folks. We need to focus on the root cause, not just the symptoms, okay? And pay attention to what your body is telling you. Just like the check engine light in your car, right? If I'm driving down the road and the check engine light comes on, right? Ignoring the signs can make things worse, right? But taking action now can prevent more serious health issues on. You know, and I said this earlier, right? The graveyard is full of people who thought they still had more time. This is why I do what I do. My goal is to help people understand what insulin resistance before it leads to all these major chronic issues. Now, if you've got diabetes and you have these health issues, you still can correct it. But folks, if we let it go on too long, you might not have that chance. The bottom line is that when you go longer periods of time without eating, giving your body a break, when you incorporate more fiber, these are two tools that can really help you to manage insulin resistance. It can help you to improve your health in ways that diets, calorie restriction, medications, workouts would never be able to do. Okay? Let me know if you guys have any questions, okay? Because I'm here to answer them. And Riza, connect with me. Would love to help you. Okay? Let's talk about how this usually goes down, right? Anxiety, depression, right? This is a big one. Do you guys realize that it's not just physical health, right? Insulin resistance is so many different things, skin issues, to weight issues, to high blood pressure, to cholesterol, to diabetes, to heart disease, to kidney stones, liver disease. I mean, you guys name it. They're all caused by one thing. And what's frustrating, honestly, folks, what's frustrating is that we often treat them with medications. Medications don't fix the root cause. It's a Band-Aid. They're masking the symptoms. So why are we all struggling, right? I think you guys understand now, right? How many of us are literally eating from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed? You guys realize that our whole body, head to toe, is made up of like 50 to 70 trillion cells in our body. And folks, if your cells are healthy, you are healthy. If your cells are sick, you are sick. And my saying is simple: fix the cell, you'll get well. LEVD, how are you this evening? Asego, thank you. Hey, Riza, I can help you. Folks, every cell has receptors. I want you to think about your phone right now. Okay, if you're holding your phone right now, I want you to think of, the cell receptors as like your phone. Think of it like the $1,000 iPhone or Android that you have. You guys realize that your phone is useless unless it connects to the cell tower. If your phone can't connect to the tower, you're frustrated because it doesn't work. It's the same with your body. Insulin, thyroid, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, they all need to connect to the receptors on your cells. And if that signal is blocked because you have insulin resistance, guess what? Your body can't get the message. It can't get the nutrients that it needs. Does that make sense? And here's the problem with type 2 diabetes, folks. Some of you have been told that it's progressive. It's not. Folks, it's not a life sentence either. Folks, it is correctable because insulin resistance is correctable. Most people don't lack insulin. You don't. In fact, most people have way too much insulin. And what happens is that your body keeps pumping out more and more and more insulin just to move the same amount of glucose. And guess what? And medications often push it up even higher. It's forcing glucose into your cell. And sure, your labs might look better, but do people actually feel better? Not usually. And Riza, let me guess, you're a type 2. Are you a type 2 or a type 1? Folks, this is why many people end up with brain fog, fatigue, or even what I call the skinny fat and diabetes. Riza, I want to share this with you. This is actually a friend of mine who happens to be a type 1 diabetic. I want you to read what this type 1 diabetic has experienced. It's pretty incredible. Folks, this is the exact reason that I get on here every single day to share this. That's a type 1 diabetic. Folks, doctors think that if your glucose levels look normal and insulin looks normal in the blood, that you must be well. But here's the thing, the receptor is blocked. You have what is called insulin resistance, right? If the receptor is blocked, or if the mitochondria inside your cell, your energy plants are broken, you can't turn the glucose into fuel that your body needs. It's our body's gasoline, right? And this is one of the reasons why people are still tired and they have the brain fog. They're unable to concentrate, even with good labs. So what's blocking the signal, right? Inflammation. And I'm not talking about the sore shoulder kind of, inflammation, but the cellular inflammation, right? Toxins and stresses that build on the cell membrane and inside the cell. And I know that this is probably way more than you guys wanted to hear. But the point is that it goes much deeper. And all we do is scratch the surface with meds, but meds don't fix the root cause. Folks, if all we do is give more meds to push more insulin, we never fix the real problem. That's why so many people stay stuck and frustrated and tired, because there's no lasting solution unless you fix yourself. Folks, here's the good news. You don't need meds or diets to fix this. If you lower inflammation, you reset your insulin sensitivity, you support your digestion, right? Your cells start to work again. It's exactly why I teach the Feel Great. It's incredible. Instead of forcing insulin higher, it helps your cells hear the signals. And what happens when you become insulin sensitive again? Your energy comes back, the brain fog goes away, the weight starts to move naturally without feeling like you have to get on, one of these expensive weight loss things. So let me ask you, do you want a quick fix that covers just your symptoms? Or do you want to get to the root cause and actually fix it, right? Fixing it at the cell level. If you're serious about fixing the root, drop the word info in the chat. Okay, I'm happy to send you information. Now, here's the big issue, folks. Okay, the big issue is that most doctors, they're not talking about insulin resistance, which happens to be the root cause behind our issues. No one talks about it. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this with people every day, because you could have this and never even know it. Right? This is exactly why I teach this. Here's the part, right, that no one wants to tell you, folks. If I go to the doctors because I've got IBS and blood pressure and cholesterol issues, and let's just say that I go to 3 different doctors, I'm going to pay 3 different copays, and I'm going to walk out with multiple medications, and not one of them is going to touch the root cause. See, all they're doing is managing the numbers, the symptoms. But the moment you stop taking those meds, what do you think happens to the symptoms? They come right back. Some of you probably already know this, but most doctors aren't trained in med school to recognize or treat insulin resistance with nutrition and lifestyle. So what happens? We get sicker. We get more meds. They up the dose. They add a new pill for the side effects. And the next thing you know, you're on 6 to 8 dozen prescriptions. And what I recommend and teach has been around for over 30 years. It's safe. It's been studied at some of the top institutions in the world, like the Cleveland Clinic, Stanford, UCLA. A lot of world-renowned institutions that you would recognize. You don't need to change your entire life to get results, which is great. Folks, I've only got a couple more minutes, but I just want you to know how grateful I am to have an opportunity to get on here and share my experience with insulin resistance. I had stage 4 kidney disease 7 years after donating a kidney. I had migraines that I had for 23 years that went away in the very first week of using this. I had acid reflux and brain fog and sleep apnea, anxiety, depression, frequent urination. Right, I still go to the bathroom more than I usually do. It's probably because of my one kidney. But I want you guys to understand that if you are struggling or if you have a family member, I hope and pray that you will share what I've shared with them because it gives them hope and they should have hope. You have options, you always have. You know, the food industry makes our food very palatable, right? They make our food very kind of addictive like where we just want to eat all the time. But you see, when God makes a carbohydrate like an apple or rice or wheat or sugarcane, it comes wrapped in fiber. It's like a protective coat. It keeps you safe, right? It's wrapped in fiber. It protects us. And when we have fiber, right, it helps to slow your digestion down. It helps to eliminate the blood sugar spikes and the insulin spikes. It is a big deal. At Riza, you can do this, okay? I want you guys to think of insulin as a key, right? That unlocks your cells so that the sugar can go from the food and go in and give you energy. But when you become insulin resistant, right, your cells, right, the locks get rusty. So now the key can't unlock the cells anymore. And so what happens is that the sugar stays trapped in your blood, your body panics, and instead of giving you energy, guess what it does? It stores it as fat. Okay? When your insulin is high, your body is storing fat. When your insulin is low, your body is burning fat. I want you to understand you cannot burn fat and store it at the same time. Right? Who's ever felt like, how little you eat, you still gain weight. Your body just stores it. And it's because your insulin levels are high. So we've got to reduce that. Eddie, I hope you're doing well, brother. We need to connect, man. Folks, too often we are just throwing medications at our symptoms. It's like having a leak in your ceiling and putting a bucket under it, but you never fix the roof. We've got to fix the roof. Okay? That's what we're doing with our health. Okay? We rely on meds after meds and instead of addressing the root cause. We need to heal our bodies. And when you do that, you can start to take control of your health, right? Your weight, your blood pressure, your autoimmune conditions, right? Cardiovascular health will start to improve. Let me ask you this. If we have a fish tank, it's disgusting, right? The water is murky, it's gross. Fidan, thank you so much. Okay. If we've got murky water, right? And the fish are swimming upside down. Okay. Do we throw more drugs in it or do we clean up the environment? We clean up the water. I hope this is making sense. And folks, if you really want to move the needle, like for real, the big two that I just talked about, time-based eating, right? Intermittent fasting and fiber. The moment I started to incorporate this, It completely changed everything. The the yerba mate, the chlorogenic tea that I sip on, it's amazing. It shuts the food noise off. It's exactly what I needed. Folks, thank you so much for being on this live tonight. I do this every day. I'm going to be flying to Provo tomorrow. Um, I will be doing my videos. I'm going to try and get on tomorrow as well and try and um, do a live tomorrow morning if I can. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for hopping on this live tonight. I appreciate it. Um, if you have an interest in learning more, please connect. Okay, I'm happy to jump. I am a person that if you are serious about it and you want to jump on a call, I'm happy to do that. Folks, thank you. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your evening, your week. Okay, folks, I want you guys to understand that we are 8 days into the new year. Okay, if you haven't started to take care of your health, do it. Do not delay. Right? Remember, the cemetery is full of people who thought that they had more time. Right? And that's the most dangerous thing about insulin resistance is that there are no signs. Right? You don't often feel it. Right? This fire is burning out of control, and you don't even know that you have it. Let me know what I can do to help each and every one of you. Okay, I love talking about this. It's changed my life. I know it can change yours as well. Okay, God bless.